Oh yeah, and welcome to another episode of Startup Success Students with the host, Rayyan Karim. And this week we have Dr. Pat Boulogne. Boulogne. Anyway, we have Dr. Pat, who's joining us, I believe, all the way from America. She has written a book on why are you feeling how you are, and it's all to do with your food. It's a fantastic PDF that also allows you to apply in real time different ways of seeing your end-to-end energy system. I think I've got that correct. And then how to benefit by intervening at the right level at the right time, but also we're keeping an eye on your end-to-end health system. Fantastic PDF. I've had time to go through it and have a look at it, but not undertake the scoring. I would have liked to have done that, but as we know, startup life is busy, business world is busy, and we don't always get time for all the things we'd like to have. But that's why we've got Dr. Pat coming on here for you, because it's a fantastic body of work, super innovative, I do believe. I'm not an expert in all the things that are out there, but it seems to be a very fresh, new concept. And yeah, just looking to hear from Dr. Pat, who we're now going to let into the Zoom room, and we're going to go from there. One moment.
Oh, let's go to this party.
All right, Dr. Pat, thanks for joining us. I made a proper bad attempt at saying your last name. It was like Boulogne, and actually you just told me that your last husband was French. So maybe that gives me a hint. Is it? I'm not even going to try. How do you say it? How do you say the surname?
You say Boulogne.
Boulogne,
like Cologne
there you go.
With a B, but it's Boulogne. It's like Cologne doesn't have the hard intensity in the beginning, but Boulogne is like a definite B. It's like Boulogne.
Boulogne. Yeah, it's quite a sexy name, really, isn't it? It rolls off the tongue. No wonder why you fell for the French man. Oh, that is assuming, obviously, that it is a husband.
I'll make sure that he gets a link for this.
So go on. Look, I'm trying to think in the eyes of the readers, right? I've had quite a good look at your profile. I had quite a good look at the documents. We've been going back and forth for a little while. Probably more with your media team maybe than yourself. But what would be great for me to learn a little bit more about, and the people listening and watching, who is Dr. Pat?
Did you hear that? My computer just did it like, I think it was perfect timing. You know, I am a very complex, I would describe myself as being very complex because I like to observe data and I like to take it in and I make it simplified. You know, so that so whatever the complex challenge or situation is, then I simplify it so it can be digested, you know, faster, safer, that gets people unstuck. And I like solving problems, and then you can move forward. So you can kind of like, okay, at least I have some level of common sense included in this also. You know, and so that's a really important fact for me that I like doing that. And, you know, I always think sometimes when I'm watching people do things and I'm just wondering what the heck is going on in their brain, you know, I'm always thinking they should be a client. You know, because when you eat better, think better, you know, and feel better, it's got to come from somewhere. So where it comes from is like, you know, paying attention to the basics in your health and knowing what those basics are. So you're not putting the cart before the horse. And then when the cart and the horse get in the right positions with each other, that they're actually attached and you have the ability to move forward, which would indicate that you have control of your life, right? It's very simple.
Exactly. That's a very good answer to who is Dr. Pat. And I think it shows a little bit of similarity. I mean, I count myself as a kind of uncertified, unofficial anthropologist, right? I'm just fascinated by people and how they make decisions together and how those decisions layer up across societies, governments, and businesses, especially when you see government policies and how that can influence things within a country. I'm fascinated by all these things. So I chime with you there. We're in a similar camp there.
Yes, we do. And I always like finding out, like, you know, when someone says something, I'm always, you know, I sometimes, you know, put my foot in my mouth when I ask. It's like, okay, so do you hear yourself talk? because it's just, I'm thinking like, how does that, because I always think about like, we're all in this together. If we all row the boat and we're in sequence with each other, but being our own island at the same time, then we get a lot farther, faster,
Yep,
and you have
absolutely.
those results, no matter what arena in your life you're talking about.
Yeah.
You can, get more glue in there and you can get more stability, because stability is really important, especially in these days and times.
And everyone is so keen, the world we live in is so keen for competition that you forget that actually, could we collaborate? And could we
Mhm.
be greater together instead of competing against one another? We'll always be limiting one another's growth by definition. So
Right.
instead, if you were to collaborate, much more, there's much more possibility. There's much more things that become available for the people that enjoy your services too. So yeah, collaboration is definitely
Well, I
my
think,
favorite over competing with another company. Even this
well,
podcast space, right? You can share
yep.
audiences with people. There's no need to keep it all to yourself. The people that resonate with you will stay with you, and the ones that go over there. And you know what? Some people listen to more than one podcast, so there's no
Oh,
need to
gee.
compete. Do you know what I mean? It's a great
Like,
example. But I just
oh
wanted
my
to ask
God.
you,
That
yeah,
happened.
yeah. I wanted to ask you the doctor part of Dr. Pat. I know you can become a doctorate in many ways in the modern world, can't you? But tell us about your doctorate. Where does your doctorate come from, and what does that mean that you have knowledge in?
Well, I have a lot of knowledge in a lot of different things, and I have a lot of different life experiences. But when I decided to go to school and study, for me, science was a natural. I mean, I excelled in science. I did a project made out of pickle jars when I was 9 years old, and my teacher submitted it to the state, and I won second place. And
Wow.
I couldn't figure out why that was so important at 9 years old.
Mm.
But I suppose a lot of 9-year-olds are not like, doing acid-based indicators, type of test. But, to me, it was just like, it's just a test. It was nothing really special. But, from being in that mindset of being in science, I always was very fascinated with biology and with plants. And I had some really like fun teachers when I went to college. And I just naturally fell in having a pre-med degree, or that all those requirements done. And a friend of mine asked me what I was going to do when I graduated. And I said, I don't know, I think I'm going to wait on tables. And I said, you can really be like, you have control over your own schedule. You can spend the winters like down in someplace warm and back. And they
Mm.
went, you're too smart to do that. And I succumbed and I decided to go to chiropractic school, because when I worked at a university hospital, I did not see people get well, and I didn't want to contribute to the ill health of other people. And
Mm.
for when I was waiting on tables and I hurt my shoulder when I was waiting on tables, this all happened at the same time. I went to a chiropractor, and my friend who trying to talk me into going to chiropractic school way before then came back from school at the same time, adjusted me, and I had like no neck pain, no shoulder pain within 4 hours
Wow.
of getting adjusted. So I just went,
Wow.
maybe there's something to being a chiropractor. So I decided to go to school, and it really changed my life. I mean, it was like data dumping to like the nth degree. It was really wonderful. My nutrition instructor was so far ahead of his time in his concepts and what he taught, that, even to this, like today, they still sell margarine, which they shouldn't. But it's just like he always said, eat butter. And I always said from other mentors that I had is like, if you're going to sin well, but don't do it all the time. So make sure that you have a lot of like variety in that. So the doctor part came from that, doctor of chiropractic. And then that wasn't enough. So I went to school, and I had certification in sports medicine. And then I studied nutrition all the time. And so I eventually went to acupuncture school, which I have a diplomate in. And also I have a master's in Oriental medicine.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and and so and that really burned my brain cells out. That was like studying
Mm.
at that point in time, and studying in Mandarin was a little challenge.
You studied
But
it
I
in
did,
Mandarin as well.
yeah, the formulas I did. and
Wow.
because I thought, well, if I ever write a script, and I'm,
Mm.
back in Boston and they take the script to Chinatown, I know for myself that people in the pharmacies in Chinatown have no clue what you're writing it when you write it, even in pinyin sometimes. So I
Okay.
thought if I could write it in, Chinese, it'd be better, but I never really went back to Boston, but I learned it anyway. And then I got my certification in functional medicine and also a certification as a first line practitioner, which is a lifestyle medicine. That's what they called lifestyle medicine before they called it lifestyle medicine, was, first line practitioner. It's like, it's like first line doctor. So, all those things in my toolkit
That
make
is a
for,
fascinating journey, and it's
yeah,
one that I understand fairly well because
yeah,
I have had problems with my lower back and my neck and my spine. I got a mild scoliosis, a bit of a wonky
mhm,
spine. Got some problems in my lower back. Got some problems on my neck, right? And I couldn't figure out what was going on with it. Couldn't figure, doctors, they were showing X-rays, and I was going to a chiropractor actually, but it would make an adjustment. It would kind of help, and then the pain would still be there, right? It would still be there, still be there. So then I started to try Tai Chi and try yoga and try acupuncture, and I sort of found this like East versus West kind of divide in theory in a way. It's almost like the West were much more about looking at components and isolating parts of your body, and the Eastern side seemed to be more about the whole energetic system and how movement goes kind of head to toe in line with your kind of emotional aspects of yourself and also spiritual aspects of yourself. And then the intervention becomes on many layers. Instead of it just being about, let me prod you here and do this physically on your body, it becomes about drink this, eat this, how's your sleep, and what kind of emotional tensions are you carrying around with you, what's happening in your life, where do you feel them reside. That was a massive, like, wow. I've just had to, in my mind, I had to discredit Western science, which was always held up to be like, well, we have Western science. And I had to
well,
start engaging with the Eastern stuff. And I found the Eastern stuff to actually provide me with more benefits than I was finding in the Western science world. And that was a real mind pickler for me. What would be really interesting from my perspective was someone like yourself, you've seen both aspects, you're more well read than I am about it all, you've got hands-on experience. How do these two worlds come together? This Eastern and this Western philosophy of science, how do they marry up?
well, I talk about that. My class called Be Stronger Than Medicine, which is a entry level course to finding out what the basic components of health are, which relate to diet, nutrition, exercise, sleep, positive mindset, and positive mental attitude, and posture, which also includes the biomechanics, and structure is function. And so
Mm,
I always say, if you don't have good structure, you can't have good function. But the thing about
mm.
the Western medicine and Eastern medicine thing is that Western medicine can't diagnose you unless you have a flat tire. And so, right? And because they're always looking for what's wrong with you, what's the matter with you, and they're expecting you to give them the feedback when all along you might have had things go on that you ignored, which I call Grim Reaper syndrome. And so if you can get a handle on, like, it's just like, what is that Western medicine portion of that? Like if you have an emergency, go to the emergency room, but if
Yeah.
you have, and get your diagnosis from a Western medicine doctor and then talk to an Eastern medicine doctor to see how that can blend in. Because, when I wrote my book, Why Are You Sick, Fat, and Tired, I had a person who said, I want to give you a review, but and she said, what can you do about, chronic fatigue or myofibroalgia, things like that. And I said,
Mm.
you didn't read the book. And so then when you read the book, call me back up. And then, so she called me back up and left me a message about something else. And my text message back to her was, you didn't read the book. And so and then I didn't hear from her. And then she sent me an email and she said, thank you so much. Her big aha moment was that, like, Western medicine can't diagnose you unless you have the flat tire. And then, taking in well, why is it that I have that? Because it doesn't matter your diagnosis. Why is it? What is it in my environment that is contributing to the things that I'm experiencing right now? So you've got to take a look at how your body and your genes are expressing themselves in relationship to like an onslaught of, like mold or pollen. Like right now, it's fall time, everyone's sniffling because there's that change in season. And so is your body healthy when you sneeze and you're like, and you're blowing your nose and things like this, or are you sick? I'm going to take the position that you're healthy because there's things that have accumulated in your system over the summertime.
And that is the way your body should be performing. That is what should be happening.
And you should be getting rid of anything that you need to get rid of. If you want that to happen faster, then drink 50% of your body weight in water and put lemon in it, because that's what you should be drinking every day anyway.
50% of your body weight in water. Wow.
Yeah, in ounces.
Okay.
Okay, don't get scared.
I was going to say, whoa.
I missed that one word. Ounces. But when you do that, it gives the body it serves all those 5 pillars of health that I just went through, because it gives you the hydration that you need. And hydration is important for everything, especially for like sleeping and getting solid sleep and having, and the function of like, flushing things out of your system, detoxing your brain, and things like that. It's very, very important for that. So the tie-in between Western medicine and Eastern medicine, because I had to study all Western medicine courses when I went to chiropractic school. And then what we didn't study drugs, because drugs are not part of chiropractic education, because we believe that the body has the opportunity to, if everything's there, you have the opportunity for it to heal itself, much like Eastern medicine, which looks at mind, body, and soul, and then you tie those pieces of the puzzle together so you have better outcomes.
Yes, and that is a bit that is ordinarily missing, isn't it? Tying them all together so that you can get the better outcomes. Ordinarily, people are looking at one area of Eastern science, or they're looking at one particular part of your body due to the way that Western science works. And very rarely do you bring this whole picture together. And that is what really impressed me about, I know you sent me a PDF link to the book, actually. Why Are You Sick, Fat and Tired? And that's what really impressed me about it. I didn't score myself yet. I am going to do it, though. I'm very fascinated to see where it will end up for me, actually. But from looking at the different sections and looking at how you kind of rate yourself, it is an end-to-end system and way of looking at the body that you're very much interested in. I wonder if you could just unpack a little bit. It's a heavy title, isn't it? Why Are You Sick, Fat and Tired? Like it's going to get your attention, especially in an obese world where most people are overworked. And
that's like one third of the population, and the one thing that people have in common about illness and disease and chronic illness and disease is inflammation. And so if you have inflammatory processes going on in the body, your body's constantly working. But where's that inflammation coming from? Is the question. And why do you have it in the first place? So to unpack the book is a book of questions that gives you the opportunity to see how your health snapshot is at a given time, which is a great thing to do on New Year's Day, by the way. And then you can map out and you can decide exactly where you need to spend your time, energy, and your money at. It's just like, well, this is what I've got this thing going on. And if people have an issue with, or like they have a struggle when they're looking at that chart, because there's 11 organ systems that function like almost like a Swiss watch. They all have to be working together in order for them to be working correctly. Then if one slows down, another one slows down. So you really want to see how that pattern's out and what your health pattern is. I call that the health snapshot. So when you do that, then you can say, okay, so what's my next? Where do I have to pay attention to? Where's my biggest priority?
Where's the bottleneck, isn't it? I guess you're seeing where's the damage in the system, because that is either slowing down the whole system or it's creating a knock-on negative impact in another part of the system later on down the line. So it's like, where's the right point to intervene? Is that what you look for?
Yeah, well, you have to recall the name of the book, right? Why Are You Sick, Fat and Tired? So in my business group that I belong to, this one woman said, I really don't feel like buying your book, Dr. Pat. And I just went, well, thank you for your support. And then I said, can I ask you why? And she said, sure. She goes, I don't think I am sick, fat, or tired. And I said, well, I can agree, and I need to disagree with you. And I said, it's easy to see if someone's tired or not. You can see it in their face in a nanosecond, and then if they're tired, then they also kind of know if they're fat. You can tell by how your clothes are fitting you, unless you wear stretchy clothes. So I tell people, it's just like, I wouldn't have all my clothes be stretchy, because you can suddenly gain 10 pounds and not realize that you did that. And the next thing you know, when you go to put on your favorite pair of jeans, they don't fit, so you have to think
you're
like,
jumping up and down, trying to get your legs in each.
oh, yeah. And so like, if you can back off from that and say like, okay, I'm going to keep on trying these jeans on, until I can put them on again. And even if they're tight, I'm going to start wearing them, because it sends a message to your brain. So, but at any rate, so getting those things together, the sick, or excuse me, the tired and the fat part, kind of easy, but nobody knows if they're sick. The definition by Merriam-Webster's dictionary is that all the organs are functioning 100% of the time. That's the definition for health. And the World Health Organization, one of the few things I think that they've recently done in the last couple of years.
It just means you're alive, doesn't it? If your organs are functioning, it just means you are alive.
No, they said 100% of the time. So you don't know that. That's the part that you don't know. It's a crapshoot if your organs are functioning 100% of the time, because you don't know it. And you're basing it upon like, oh, I feel good, or I go out and I walk 10 miles every day, or run 10 miles every day, whatever it is. It doesn't mean you're healthy, and so, but you have to take a look at what that sick means, because sick it's not throwing up in the toilet. It is things that happen to you that you keep on accumulating things as time goes on, that inflammation, so that when your body has to function in a certain fashion or respond to a stress, like a virus or a microbe or something like that, then your body it has a difficult time doing it, and it sets it up for other types of weaknesses or weak links. So if you know what the weak link is, then you know where you need to fortify your time, energy, and money. And so when people also, you have to, the other factor in looking in that, and what I do outside of that is I look at detoxification, because a lot of people do not understand how the body detox system works. And simplistically, when you eat something, and if everything's working perfectly fine, it processes it and it goes through you, it gets absorbed, your micronutrients, you are what you eat or have the ability to absorb. When you have damage in your gut, what happens is some of the foods that you eat seep out quicker, and they get into your blood supply, and then it has to go to the liver, because the liver's job is to detoxify. You don't ever detoxify liver. You never want to purge it. And then what you do is those toxins have got to go someplace. So it puts it back out. And then it puts it out into the intestinal tract. So it goes back into the intestinal tract, then it's got to go through that cycle again. And if it's the wall's damaged and the gut, which is only one cell layer, then it's going to keep on making that process. When the liver gets overwhelmed, what happens is those toxins get stored because it doesn't know what else to do with them. It can't get them out of the body. So it's going to store them in blood, brain, bone, and fat. And those are all fatty tissues. So when that happens, those things are deep. And when those things happen and they're deep, you're going, well, how do I get them out of the body? There's so much heavy metal in our, in our world, period. That's like, that goes through that gut lining, like in the blood system, and the liver can't do anything about it. So it stores it, so that's the one of the biggest problems. So it stores it usually in your weakest link. So if you look at where people's weakest links are, they are the sexual organs, they are the fat around organs. It's called VAT fat or visceral fat, in the brain, so how does that get there? So it gets there via the blood. So that's why the blood, brain, bone, and fat, that whole connection is there. So it's important to know when you take the quiz and the questionnaire in the book, is answering it really in present time, so you know what's going on right then and there. And then you go like, well, what can I do about it? Because there's always something you can do.
Yeah,
if you have a bad diagnosis, the easiest thing to change is the first thing that's on my pillar list, which is diet and nutrition. And you can, you might have to work on exercise depending upon what you're going on, structurally and physically with you, but you can sleep better, You can get things out of your room, like electrics, out of your room, and turn your Wi-Fi off in your house at night. So you're not getting bombarded, especially if the number ends in 1, like 801 on the Wi-Fi channel, because you're getting all that extra electromagnetic radiation that you don't need to have.
I've never considered that before, ever.
Yeah.
Never considered that.
Yeah, so it's an easy fix. If you don't want to turn your Wi-Fi off, please don't have it in your bedroom. And also just turn your telephone on to airplane mode. If that's an issue, there's ways little things around that can be very helpful for that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There is definitely an intervention that you can make at any point in time. Our bodies and our minds, our emotions, our kind of spiritual journey is so complex. There's definitely somewhere you can always intervene, right? It's so complex, and there's so many different parts that need to come together to produce the outcome of having life, being a person, and having a personality and a character. So many parts that come together to make that possible. There's always a way to intervene. So if you are one of those types of people that just want more for yourself, want to feel healthier, maybe you want to be slimmer, you want more energy, you want more clarity of thought, or you're carrying something around with you, and you're looking for alternative ways of dealing with it, I highly recommend actually going onto your website, trying to find the Why Are You Sick, Fat and Tired PDF. And also you've got a range of other courses and stuff available, haven't you? I've seen that too. So why not just tell us a little bit more about how you help people?
Well, I help people by being able to identify where their journey really should start. Because a lot of times people put the cart before the horse, and I always say the cart before the horse, you got to have it, like people do that, but they don't attach the cart to the horse. They're not in the driver's seat, and so I think that people need to ask, more questions of their physicians, like why, and what does that look 2 years or 5 years down the line for me based upon how I am responding to my environment, because environment is the key word here. And so when you're able to do that, you can make better choices. And one of my missions is to help people, have that information. So they say oh, I think that's rubbish, then go, okay, great. But if you think it's rubbish, then go do the other research that comes before that and after that, and not base it upon one article or two articles, or the saying of whoever is the coach, like what do you say, it's a very French phrase, but it means the plate for the day, the plat du jour. And so if you can take a look at this, well, what are the ingredients in it? Why would I eat that anyway? I mean, what benefit, are the foods that I'm eating? So for instance, if you're looking at a label, if you can't pronounce something that's on that label, you shouldn't eat it, and also having that simplistic meal, that comes down to maybe 5 or 6 ingredients, are your most tastier meals. When you make, it's just like when you have a nice salad, you have different vegetables that are colorful in it, and you have a piece of salmon, it's sometimes just your taste buds go, thank you. You always have that feeling when you're eating something really good, your body really likes it.
It's true. And when you're doing the opposite, your body's telling you the same thing as well, isn't it? It's like, when you're having that dessert, you shouldn't be having that dessert, right? You already, it way before you even order it or take it out of the fridge.
Yeah, or you take one bite and it tastes like crap. I mean, if you ever want to, one time I met this really interesting person at an airport. We were stuck because of the weather, and so I caved in and I went and bought. My lizard brain was working. You know the difference between the brains?
Yeah. Limbic system.
So my lizard brain, the primitive brain, was going, go ahead, get the frozen yogurt. I put 1 teaspoon in my mouth, and I looked at the guy sitting next to me. I said, this tastes like crap. I said, this is horrible. And he said, what is it? And I said, oh, it's vanilla frozen yogurt. He goes, I love vanilla frozen yogurt. I said, really? I said, I don't have any germs. I put my spoon back in it and I gave it to him. And he goes, this is so good. It's so nice to meet you. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And he was very connected in the opera and in music. He was from New York City. And so, and from giving him my yogurt, he got me a private tour at the opera in Paris one time when I was going there. It was really beautiful.
Wow.
But it's just like you think of those chance encounters, right? Like
Yeah.
how they work. But then, you know, when we started talking about food again, about a half hour later, I said, so how are you feeling now? And he goes, I'm tired. That's good because what you ate was not good for you.
Mm.
And that's how we really started that conversation. And then you know, when he was tired, I said, what do you do? And that, but anyway, but it's important to know why, like when you're eating something like that, you know, the difference between the lizard brain, the mammalian brain, and the conscious brain are very, very simple. Your lizard brain is the guy you want to work when someone cuts you off in traffic. You know, you're not paying attention, and all of a sudden you're at the edge of steps and you go, oh my God, you catch yourself. That's your lizard brain working. That's how he works. He also works to your disadvantage because he tells you, go ahead and eat it, or you're not good enough, or it's just like nobody's going to listen to that anyway. So why do you even bother? You know, that's that self-talk that if you don't get a handle on that self-talk, it undoes anything that you do to get rid of other places where inflammation sets up, either in trauma or whether or not it's toxins from the environment, you know, whether it's gardening, whatever.
It's fascinating.
So,
I knew about the different parts of the brain, but I'd never been able to clip my own kind of mental leaps and behavior to each part of those brains. So the fact that you've said when you undertake this action, it's definitely your kind of serpent or your reptilian part of your brain, the first part of your brain that kind of evolved throughout time. That's
it's
fascinating
like,
to me.
It's like, it's listed as like the lizard brain has, is in control of like the 5 Fs.
Fight and
like,
flight, yeah, fight and flight,
Yep.
survival mode, yeah.
Yep. And then, but the thing that it's also control of, it's like, it doesn't have any control. It's automatic. It's there. It's because it's it's trying to save you. But then you have your mammalian brain, and your mammalian brain is the one that you tie emotions into an activity. So if you think about, like, that wonderful movie I must have watched 30 times, especially when I was studying Chinese medicine, called Love Actually.
Yeah, I've seen
Right?
it many times as well. Yeah.
Everyone's saying that, but you feel good about it because it starts out talking about, I've never seen anybody, at Heathrow Airport come through, where people meet each other and be mad and be angry. And it's just like, you never, like, so people usually are, love. So it anchors the love feeling in that movie. So everything else that happens in that movie, you already have that anchor of that emotion of love and like camaraderie, in that. Even when it's like the guy who's the actor, like Billy Mack, was singing the Christmas song that he just kept on, screwing up all the time when he was singing the words. You loved him for it because you're going like, oh my God, that's so funny, and you could tie in with it. That's your mammalian brain. So what happens is that when we have emotions that are similar to that, we will cry at music, we will cry at a movie, we have those type of deeper emotions that go on. And then, that's the holy grail in business, actually, because what they do is they tie in your mammalian brain to a new experience based upon an old experience of that. So it's kind of like when you go to England.
And now your whole body and being is wired to this new product or brand or service because it's engaged with your brain in that way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then on top of it, to boot, then you have the conscious or your thinking brain, that's the one that you want to have control over, because the mammalian brain, is rather, it's automatic also. So your conscious brain, is when you're up, it's just like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Why am I doing that? And so that's when you do things like affirmations, and you want to change behaviors, is you want to have that self-talk that I am, I am healthy, I am happy, I am vital, I am successful, yada, 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 whatever it is. You want that talk to happen when you first wake up in the morning, because the lizard brain doesn't know what the heck's going on yet. And so if you can control the verbiage and the texture of the language of the conscious brain to the lizard brain, and tie the conscious brain then with the mammalian brain, that emotion, then the lizard brain isn't going to win. It's easy to knock him off your shoulder, but the next time he goes like, well, people who do that don't succeed, and you're going, see you later, watch me, and so it ties in those three aspects of it. And that's where you can be a lot more successful if you're able to understand that and then make a specific plan. You always got to have a plan, and to step out of that so that you can get the best part of what I do with people. And is like change that mindset part of it. So then you tie it in with like, good foods that you eat and have that be a better experience. And then you end up being successful.
Yeah, and then they've got that muscle memory within their whole body as well, haven't they? I mean, as you were talking then across those different layers, I'm seeing that diagram of like, identities at the core. That's definitely going to be about your conscious brain and these I am statements, isn't it? And then as you start stepping through, there's going to be different levels that create your identity and that create your character that really occur at different levels of the brain too. So it's like, on what level do you want to intervene on yourself and the aspect of yourself? That determines which part of your brain you really need to put in gear, which I guess is like the fundamental knowledge behind things like NLP, isn't it? Like that's what NLP's tried to do in a way, isn't it? Is bring together different ways of engaging with your brain, depending on what level in which you think you need to intervene.
Well, the person who I learned NLP from was when I was first a chiropractor, and Tony Robbins came and talked to my group. It's when
that would be a dream come true for me to meet that guy. He's a giant, isn't he? He looks like an absolute mammoth of a man.
Well, the thing is that he was nobody really when he came and taught us this stuff, because that's when he was walking on fire, and walking on the coals.
Yeah, his energy when he comes in the room. Like I know a guy that you managed to find lots of old footage of Tony's and lots of old seminars and training and coaching, and he did this thing with Madonna's is like another famous Chloe Madonna's, I think it was, like a famous psychotherapy trauma lady, and they kind of go step by step with it. But it's an awesome person to learn from, and I saw him so young at the front of an audience, must have been maybe late 20s, early 30s, looking so fresh faced and young, right? But by this point, he's already telling you these stories about like Princess Diana, working with like amazing figures, Gorbachev and all these kind of people that he's had amazing success with. Well, but I guess you would have got there before that, probably around the time the NLP guys got sick of him and kicked him out the circuit, and he's trying to forge his own way now. So you got him right in that early period.
Well, it's true, because what he did, he had everybody bend forks, in our group. But the thing that was cool about him, though, is like there's some people who you just meet that he has physical presence in the room.
Yeah, you can feel it.
And he didn't have to fill it up. He just had physical presence in the room. So when he talked, in very simplistic ways, it's just like, and we did tapping and we did stuff. Tapping was around a long time ago before they did tapping. What people consider tapping now is, it's been a while. It's been around. Let's just say that in a polite way. But he was so fascinating, in things that he did. Like everybody, like you wanted to go up and touch him, almost. I just remember listening to him, and he asked me if I was going to walk on coals, and I said no. I said, if you were giving this course to like how to fly, I'd be there in a nanosecond. And I said, if you ever get that to a point where you can teach people actually how to fly, levitate, man, I'm there. And but it was very fascinating to meet him. And the other person that was around at that same time, you talk about the spiritual aspect, is you talk about Deepak Chopra. And so Deepak Chopra, when he first came to, when I was opening up my practice on Cape Cod at the time, my husband said to me, like, we got to go see this guy. He's going to be, he's going to be famous, Deepak Chopra, blah, blah, blah. I went to go see him and I was so disappointed. I was thinking, wow, this guy's got really good things to say. It was cost me $5 to go see him. And so this is how long ago this was. He has great things to say, but somebody's got to organize it for him. And if they do, then he's going to become bigger than life. And sure enough, his brother lives in Boston. And so I have friends who know him and, way back then, and know his brother. So it's just like, it's interesting to see, where they took him and they repositioned all his content and like how he was delivering it. And that's how we ended up, and as soon as anybody we know ends up in, with Oprah, they usually have, even Dr. Oz has some level of, they're no longer a doctor, they're a celebrity of some sort. So, but it was really interesting to see that I got to see some of those great people, how they, like applied some of the things that I talk about for mindset and their health, because they're very healthy. They go out of their way to make health a huge priority for themselves, and people should do that also.
Definitely. And with the people that do, they take their mind healthy, don't want to take their mind seriously, they take their body seriously as well. You can see what they go on to create in the world for other people to enjoy. People like Tony Robbins, people like Deepak Chopra, you know,
Yeah, I loved
amazing
it.
bodies of work. But in a way, those two minds have shaped so much of this sort of space anyway, haven't they? The
Yeah.
coaching space, the well-being space. In the last kind of 30, 40 years, they've really shaped
Yeah.
how now the prevalent thinking of our time has been shifted by two minds, really. And you've had a chance to work with both of them. That's fascinating to me. And thank you for sharing both stories as well.
And when they come out, I mean, when they were blossoming, you know, so
you got to see the whole journey, haven't you? Like from seeing them in live, where, you know, it doesn't quite work yet, to then seeing them become this. And then you've seen the rest of the world start to take their ideas more seriously, and almost they've kind of created mini-me's or apostles in a way, haven't they, for their various practices.
Well, a friend of mine who lived in Barcelona said to me that she went to go see him. And I said, wow, I saw him ages ago. They brought him to my chiropractic group. When, you know, my management group, you know, the guy knew him from a friend of his knew him in New York City or whatever. And they, you know, and he went around and he visited these particular, you know, we had different quote unquote cells of this management group where people like were from Massachusetts and, you know, New Hampshire and Maine, bang, those were those people. And the people were from New York, Connecticut, blah, blah, blah. They were those, you know, people, but, you know, but we all met, you know, under the same roof. We all got to meet these, you know, I got to meet him. And then Deepak Chopra was somebody who sponsored him at Cape Cod Community College on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, which is a really great place to go.
Powerful. Listen, I have to ask you one more question. It's selfish. It's completely for me and my business partners. Because
what do you guys want to know?
Well, you mentioned about inflammation being a lot of the root cause, and you mentioned a few niche ailments there and conditions that the Western world haven't quite got their finger on, and that a lot of people do then start to seek alternative ways of remedying. For example, fibromyalgia, endometriosis. And a lot of people with those conditions try and seek for, you know, other ways of gaining, you know, less inflammation in the body. Now, we've started in the UK only. We've started a CBD company, and there's lots of, you know, mixed research. There's lots of amazing small scale research, but of course, the big pharmas haven't quite yet put their hands in the pocket to do any worthwhile, massive case studies on it that I've been able to find anyway. But one thing that really backs it up in the UK is just the personal stories. Like we've got a Facebook community of a couple hundred people, you know, there's many others out there. The amount of personal testimonials there is, you know, people running their own science projects on themselves. This is what we've got from the doctors. This is the impact and the effect that I'm still feeling. Okay, let me introduce this CBD in a variety of forms, whatever they choose, the oil, the gummies, the capsules, the coffee. And then they all report, you know, I've never seen someone say it doesn't work. Some of them then up their dosage, but hardly anyone, no one that I've seen in our group or in other groups have said it didn't work for me. So what I'm curious about is someone with your background, someone with your insight, someone with, you know, no doubt it's not the first time that hemp has been, or marijuana has been floated as a potential remedy to lots of these kind of ailments too. But the CBD is very different. It's an isolated form of hemp. It doesn't come with any of the highs. But my question is, do you, from your experience, from your line of sight, right, what do you think about CBD? Is it the one-stop shop cure-all for anything to do with inflammation-related diseases? Or do we need to tread more carefully? What's your thoughts?
Well, I think you have to identify where the inflammation is coming from, you know, and then what you would need to do in your science project, with at least this science project isn't going to harm anybody. And so, and I stress that because, you know, it's just like if food is medicine and it is medicine, that's the first way you get nutrients in your body. And so CBD is from hemp, and hemp is considered a food. Then if you put things together in the right combinations, then you have more of an opportunity to always have better outcomes. So a lot of people, I always tell people to start CBD or other tinctures or essential oils, whatever they use, to start at a low dosage and then work up, because you will know when you hit your realm. Like for instance, if you drink water and lemon all the time, if you suddenly started to breathe, then you could say, oh my God, I can smell lemon. This actually happens to me, when I'm breathing. Then, what you can do is when you do that, you hit a max dose. You hit a max dose of vitamin C when you start having loose stools. And you had the same thing if you have too much magnesium. So, when you have, you're right. I rarely have ever heard anybody, not have a good experience with CBD who took it for a particular reason,
Yeah.
took it for pain, for sleep. But you have to go back to, in the inflammation portion of it, you really need to go back to find out why you have inflammation in the first place. And then, because that structure is function, component of that health, you got to address that, because you have to have a properly functioning nervous system. And if you don't, then if you take, no matter what you do, isn't going to necessarily help you, because you have misalignment.
Yeah.
So that part is important. But as far as I think it's a great, when you said that, I just really, my eyes just opened up, and I just was like, wow, what a great, science project. It's just like yourself, and taking taking a stride and a step with that. My only caution is like a lot, just that it's not harmful, is that we have a tendency to be addicted to a lot of things, because we have a big addiction society of the globe, is to pay attention to what that is, and it's just like, if I find like if I do too much of it and I go to sleep, then when I get up, I'm not as bright, hit the ground running kind of type person that you should, because everybody should be able to hit the ground running, when they get a good night's sleep, and if CBD oil gets you into that magic stage of stage 3 and stage 4 of sleep, great, take it. It's better than melatonin, because melatonin, when you offset, melatonin is a hormone of darkness. It's not this magic pill that you take that gets you to go to sleep. And so a lot of people take melatonin with their supplements in the morning. I'm going, no, 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 no. It's like knowing when to take something. This is like, if you have more pain at night or when you're sleeping, CBD oil, like anything else, it might be better to take it just before you go to bed, about a half hour before. And then set the stage for what you're trying to have the outcome, looking at diet, nutrition, looking at the exercise, looking at the sleep, looking at your positive attitude, mental attitude, how that fits in, and, and your properly functioning nervous system, which is your structure. So when you tie that all in, the CBD for me is like a icing on the cake.
Yes, you're right. That's when you were talking there, my head was just going crazy with all these different ideas that we've got for this business, and how potentially you might be able to play a role, or be able to help us in some way, be able to shape that. I mean, we're a startup. We're going through our own various phases of a startup journey. One of the later phases is to integrate a service that allows people to be able to have an end-to-end understanding of their health, and then be able to navigate practitioners, where they are. That's a later stage. We're not quite there yet. Maybe we'll have to circle back once we're at that point in time.
Well, if you know where your weak link is, and that you go and you fortify that weak link, out of your 11 organ systems. So you'll see, like, how does that play into this? And how am I detaxing what I have in my environment? And what is it that I can do? Because it doesn't have to be costly. Like, how can I, what better choices can I make in my lifestyle that will be reflective of the outcome that I'm moving towards? And can I get there? How does this set me free? So to have more freedom in my health and in my lifestyle. So, I don't live in pain, because pain is not, a lifestyle. It is oh my God, there's something wrong. Where is it coming from? And then finding the source of that, and then quelling that, and then letting your body heal so that you can have the best life ever. I mean, who doesn't want that?
Exactly. I mean, you make it sound so easy, but I know, as someone who's au fait with systems, understanding systems and wrapping your head around them, it can be very tough for people. So they do need frameworks, they do need guidance, and that's why Dr. Pat is there.
And that's why you've got to handle the lizard brain. Because it's like when people aren't successful in a program, whatever it is, weight loss, weight gain, there's not too much of that going on anymore. But or like I've been, I've had like, how do I recover? So from having the flu, or, like I had this cough and it's like keeps on going on. Well, why isn't that phlegm not coming up? I mean, you got to ask, like, why? What is it in my environment, or what am I doing that's causing that in the first place, and address that as a base cause, and then add in all the fluff stuff that works, because then it's a lot more fun. Do good, have fun, and thrive.
Do good, have fun, and thrive. You heard it here first. Dr. Pat, thank you for your time just now. I've really enjoyed that conversation. Anything you want to leave the people with that are going to be watching this video, listening at some point? Any links do you want us to put around the video for people?
Absolutely. My website is healthteamnetwork.com, and there are links on there to be able to connect with me directly and have a chat with me. Get my book on Amazon. You can even buy it on Amazon UK. And for those of you guys over there. And then, I have a Facebook group that's, facebook.com/Ask Dr. Pat. That is my business. And I'm also on Instagram, also with Dr. Pat Boulogne. So, come and join me, find me on LinkedIn. That's how you found me. And, let's have a chat. Let's see, like, what can you do to have the life that you dreamed of in the fastest, simple, possiblest way that gets you unstuck and you can move forward, and you can be happy, healthier, more vibrant, and whatever that last word is you want that to be, you tell me and we'll get there. You tell me your dream day, I'll take it in.
You know what? Even just hearing you say it has made me feel a lot better and more energetic and more alive. So no doubt,
Yeah, I love it.
Check out the links below.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Check out the links below, and I'll leave all my stuff down there. Of course, I'll check out my personal website, my business consultancy, and all the other things that we've been speaking about today, including the CBD company. We only ship to the UK though, so unlucky if you're based elsewhere. Dr. Pat, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day. And
you're welcome. Thank you so much.